I'm selfishly going to ask you this. Tell me about the process of designing the house, what you wanted, what you didn't want. You and Ali building your dream home, your forever home. You beautiful backyard with some golf stuff out there as well. We're in your hitting room. You have a gym. When I think of building a dream house, because I'm my man cave or whatever, it's going to have a golf simulator, a gym, and a nice 3-car garage, and the rest of the house I don't really worry about, right? And a putting green maybe, and that's about it. But tell me about that process. How long was the process, and just kind of, the design of the house and why you decided to build it the way you did?
Yeah. So we're kind of similar in the nerdiness of houses. Like especially with my traveling lifestyle, I get to see some crazy, houses and super cool stuff. And so it's something my granddad, built homes, growing up. And so, when I went to Oklahoma State, a fun little side story, I took a visit to, the engineering architecture school there. And like the second room that I saw when I was in there was a room full of cots, like these little, beds. And I was like, and Coach McGraw, the coach at the time, was with me and with the head of the school. I was like, I'm 16, 17 years old or whatever. I'm like, what's that? And the head of the school was like, oh, that's, when you're pulling on all-nighters if you want to go get a nap or something in. I like look at Coach McGraw. I'm like, and he basically was like, I didn't want to like crush your dreams. He goes, but let's just say there's not a lot of golfers that take on this degree. And so in a different life, I would have loved to have been like an architect of sorts. And so I've always had an eye for it. Like I've always been aware of it. And my wife grew up, her dad kind of on the side was always doing house projects and different stuff. And so she's been around it for a while too. So collectively, we've for years talked about, building our own house one day and what that would look like. And I, am almost ashamed to say, like, I have a Pinterest with like her where we're always, we've been putting ideas of stuff together. And so this house that we built, it was a long time in the making from like our minds and like all the little details. And so, it was cool to, put all of our ideas together and actually implement it. And so like I said, I always had a dream of having the sim room and my gym here. And, especially now with having a little one, I don't have to go to the gym to, outside the house. Like I can still stay here and, it's made life at home easier, and it was funny too. So the green outside, when I first started thinking about that, I was like, of course, being a golfer, like you want to have a putting green out there. But then I was like, you know what? When golf is done, it's almost going to be like annoying that I can't even get away from golf when golf is done. But I started thinking more about it, and with having a little one and then, another one on the way, it's like, man, it'd be really cool if this would kind of ignite something in them to want to be a part of golf. And so that's ended up being the reason I decided to put the green in back there was for my kids. And so it was about 2 or 3 months ago, we were in Greenbrier for a tournament and then in Jersey for a tournament. It was the first time I had been away from my girls for a while. And so I'm FaceTiming them after the round every day. And it was the first time my daughter was like, Daddy, we golf when you home. And I was like, okay, that just made that whole thing worth it. Cause she was my wife and daughter were out there on the green when she called and, was talking like that. And I was like, all right, that just made it worth it, and beyond, being out there with buddies, having a drink or two, putting and hanging out, like that call alone was like, okay, I'm glad we did this.
Yeah. That's a super cool dad moment, right? Like all the dads listening to this are just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
No, it's right. And the one thing, like, same as you, like I love the first thing you do when you walk into a house is you walk through the front door. And the first thing I noticed when we were walking up to your house was how sick that front door is. Yeah. Right? Like, yeah. And how it just kind of opens the way it does. And now it's just, glass and steel and it's wide. And again, people listening are like, why are you talking about a front door? But it fits the aesthetic of the house, right? And everything. And it's, it's the first thing you do. You open a door and then it sets the tone. And, like I said, you have your entryway and your wine wall, which is going to be full at some point, obviously on the left. And, it's,
the front door was like, that was one of my, like you said, gym, golf sim, putting, like all that. But throughout the other parts of the house, like the front door was one of like the first things I was like, because like you said, that's like the first thing you see, or, first thing getting into the house. And, it's this big single pivot door, and you just don't often see those, especially in Oklahoma. And so through my travels, and specifically, I'll never forget, there was this one house in Scottsdale we went to. It was twice as big as that door, by the way. And I just remember thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was like, babe, because my wife was with me, I was like, babe, we're going to have a sweet front door.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to happen. So, yes.
That's awesome. Was there any other non-negotiables you had when you were building, or any ones that you or Ali had at the time?
Oh, yeah, tons. Yeah, no. Fortunately, we are aesthetically, we have the same tastes and same likes. And so it was a really easy process for us, because we have the same style, if you will. And, so one of the other like dream things was have you seen the back window glass doors, like when it's open up? Yeah, you saw it. Like that was the front door, and that were like the two things I was like, I want to build the house around these two parts, like the back opening up all the way as if you're in Palm Springs or something. And so those were the two things I was like, I don't care about everything, but those are two things I want to make sure those are focal points, and those are things that we're going to build the house around, basically.